is from Janet Jagan. For many, she's the first president of Guyana and mother of the nation, and a personal admirer of mine. She was born as Janet Rosenberg, October 20, 1920, in Chicago, Illinois. Comrade Janet, she was educated at the Wayne University, University of Detroit, and studied the cook nursing. She took up nursing. She later got married to Comrade Cheddi in 1943. And as I mentioned earlier, they bore 2 children. And they now have 5 grandchildren. Comrade Janet, in 1946, she founded, among other women, she formed the Women's Political and Economic Organization, which we call today the WPO. She was the co-founder, one of the co-founders of the Political Affairs Committee. She edited the PAC bulletin, I must add. And was also a co-founder of the People's Progressive Party in the 1950s. This is when the party was formed. And since then, she's been a member of the General Council, the Central Committee, and the Executive Committee of the People's Progressive Party, which she still holds. She was first appointed the editor of the Thunder, that's the PPP's official organ, and became the first elected woman to the Georgetown City Council. As I mentioned, a founder of the WPO. And Comrade Janet herself, like Comrade Cheddi, spent some time behind bars for the right reason. She was jailed for 6 months, and she was restricted after release, where she had to report to the police weekly. In 1964, Comrade Janet resigned as a minister in protest over the Wismar incident, and along with Comrade Collymore, Moses Nagamutu, Kellerwan Lal, they were the founder of the Union of Guyanese Journalists, and she became its first president. In 1973, Comrade Janet became the editor of the Mirror newspaper, and after the PP ended its boycott of the parliament, that's in protest to the rigging of the national elections in 1973, she was returned to the House as opposition, as an MP opposition. Comrade Janet was sworn in as the first woman's president of Guyana and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, which, due to ill health, had to step down or resign in August 8, 1999. And she is the recipient of the Guyana's highest award, the Order of Excellence, the Woman of Achievement Award from the University of Guyana. And in 1997, she received the Gandhi Gold Medal for Peace, Democracy, and Women's Rights. That's by UNESCO. It gives me great pleasure to address you, Comrade Janet Jagan.
Granted it very much because I was looking forward to all the various events we have during March to commemorate Comrade Cheddi's birth and life. So we're holding this annual gathering here at the only house he ever had that was his own, because we lived in rented houses from the time he came back to Guyana until we had this house, which we moved into about 43 years ago. Let me give you a little history of this property because it's kind of interesting and gives you an idea of how money has changed positions all these years. This whole area here, Bel Air, was once part of Booker McConnell and Company, and this very land was estate land, and that house right diagonally opposite over there was not the manager, no, that one was, is that the manager's house? Then the one where the Indian Cultural Center is. Oh, they were both managers' houses. Ram Karan's family, that's Boise Ram Karan, his family had lived in the back on the other street for umpteen years. And in this case, Booker McConnell behaved pretty good. They gave to all the people who had resided in the area the first option of buying the property from the street they lived in the back, up to this street you see right here. The whole thing, I don't know, about an acre or half acre, yeah, so it was offered to Ram Karan because his father, I think was his father born here? Yeah, his grandfather was born here, etc., etc. So Ram was very generous and asked me if I'm interested in half of it. The whole was a bit big. So Comrade Cheddi and I discussed it, and we agreed to take half. Can you imagine what the price was? From this gate to the end was $5,000. So you can get an idea of what prices were in those days. But that's one of the few pieces of generosity I saw Booker McConnell and company doing. But I think they wanted to get rid of the properties and move out. So this became a housing area. When we were finally building in the back, we found traces of pipes, very old pipes that must have been there from a century or so before. So although it doesn't look like a plantation, it was a plantation here, and I think they had a rice factory. Yeah, down when you're coming into the area, the rice factory's gone. But in the old days, the PPP used to hold a lot of meetings at the rice factory. So a lot of the beginnings of the PPP can relate to here because two of the leading members, Comrade Cheddi and Comrade Boise Ram Karan, were right from this area. And sprouting out of that, we have a new generation of Ralph, who's Speaker of the National Assembly, and his brother Bainey, who is our ambassador to the United States of America. So you see the PPP spread all around the place with the originals and their offspring. And even in this audience today, we have several offspring of comrades who were in the party, like the Ali family, the wife and son are here, and you have, I don't know, my eyes aren't all that good, but we have old timers. I remember years and years ago, before the PPP was formed, I can't remember how we met the Doc Bang family, but Doc Bang and there must have been about 3 dozen, is that about it? 3 dozen Vietnamese who had been sent by the French to what was known as Devil's Island. You know where Devil's Island is? It was supposed to be one of the worst places in the world for prisoners. It's in French Guyana. And French prisoners, include very many prominent ones, were sent to Devil's Island. And the smarter ones were able to escape by boats. Many died in the process of escaping. But Doc Bang was one of those with his comrades who escaped and came to Guyana. And his wife is, he died some years ago. His wife is here right now. Stand up, Stella. That's Stella, his wife, who's been with the party. So he's been associated before the party was formed. And I remember we used to meet in Tiger Bay to commemorate various holidays of Vietnam. That was my first introduction to Vietnam. And probably it was our first introduction in the early period of the party to what you